Blog Talk Radio.
And in those days there were giants in the land, and the sons of the angels of God looked upon the daughters of men and found them fair, and took of them wives, and their sons became of old great men of renown. So they have been mixing with us on a genetic level since the time of Enoch and Ezekiel's will.
Here on Earth we're intrigued by the sun, moon, and stars, and imagine there's got to be planets like ours. Some conceive of a face on the surface of Mars, so in need of a meaning and purpose we lost. That indeed they believe that these might be our gods, or that maybe with time we'll do right and evolve, and eventually reach what they seek, and then solve all the problems of man. But they really don't know that they fall in the works of our hands are but just filthy rags. So we travel the lands to dig up our past. Time elapses, and with it are much of the facts. Some imagine that God came in alien craft. They react in this way, they're so desperate for meaning and purpose, but satanic service. They know that they have evil motives. Am I making you nervous? I'm just scratching the surface. The signs from Ezekiel's wheel, when the skies unfold like scrolls and the breaking of seals. Heed the warning, the message is clear. Heed the warning, the time draws near. See the signs from Ezekiel's wheel, when the skies unfold like scrolls and the breaking of seals. Heed the warning, the message is clear. Heed the warning, the time draws near. In the blink of an eye, all believers will be raptured. Anyone left receives a mark or the caption. This leader will arise, claim his origins are alien, possessed by Satan on the side of the Nephilim. Profess those who left held us back from evolving, and now that they're gone, we'll solve all of Earth's problems. The worship of any one God will be halted, evolving to gods and ourselves be exalted. They'll play on these lines, and in time they'll devise and arrive at a plan that will help hypnotize all the ones left behind, the spiritually blind. He's stolen their souls, now he's stealing their minds. It's already started, we're seeing the signs. Just study the word, prophecies all aligned. Now chop off the heads of all those who fight at one earth, one world. Aren't you excited? The signs from Ezekiel's wheel, when the skies unfold like scrolls and the breaking of seals. Heed the warning, the message is clear. Heed the warning, the time draws near. See the signs from Ezekiel's wheel, when the skies unfold like scrolls and the breaking of seals. Heed the warning, the message is clear. Heed the warning, the time draws near. Where will you be in the year 2012? Are they casting a spell they're not ready to tell? It's time to reveal what they tried to keep veiled. Pure evil they hail and they sell it so well. He fell from the heavenly realms where he dwelled, a once beautiful angel that tried to rebel. Expelled from the light into darkness and hell, now a serpent and snake with reptilian scales. He wears a disguise with angelic wings and mimics the truth with a lie so obscene. He always repeats the same thing he told Eve, that you'll be supreme, a king or a queen, that you can evolve to an enlightened being, a god of your own that can do anything. He feeds on our souls with this fraudulent scheme in so many ways, but it's all just the same. See the signs from Ezekiel's wheel, when the skies unfold like scrolls and the breaking of seals. Heed the warning, the message is clear. Heed the warning, the time draws near. See the signs from Ezekiel's wheel, when the skies unfold like scrolls and the breaking of seals. Heed the warning, the message is clear. Heed the warning, the time draws near.
Why hide yourself with, creating UFO crafts and things like that? Why that deception if that's indeed what's going on?
The creatures figured out that there was one way that they could frighten mankind, and that is to present themselves as technologically superior beings, some physical UFOs.
Why would they want to abduct human beings?
UFO abduction might not be caused by physical occupants, but from creatures living in perhaps what we would call another dimension.
Posing as occupants.
Yes, the same type of interfering, harassing, paraphysical creature in every culture worldwide.
Welcome, friends. Thank you for joining me for fellowship today, on this Sabbath. I want to give a special shout out to Mary Rose Fayette in Australia, who asked me a question specifically concerning the Sabbath and as far as when do I worship and when do I pray, and how do I honor, the festivities and the laws, the commandments, the different things as laid out by the Old and the New Testament, and so I wanted to address this initially, and then we're going to go into a follow-up on the text and the vision of Baruch and the second part of the Apocalypse of Baruch, a pseudepigraphal book from the 1st, 2nd century CE about the destruction, the exile, the captivity of the Hebraic people, and their destruction by the Chaldean armies, Zedekiah and his family's destruction, Jeremiah's later exile, and also Baruch's series of visions, which, being apocalyptic, have relevance and pertain to our generation as being the fig tree generation, and so we'll talk about all that as well. But as far as the Sabbath, though, most of you do know that it was changed from Saturday to Sunday, and that a lot of what is organized churchianity, or what has become organized religion here in this country, is, run and done on Sunday. And so most people are involved in traditions of worship or aligned with organized religion in a way that this is the predominant day that they do their particular worship is on Sunday. And my particular opinion on all this, especially for those that have awakened up to the change, is that you honor the Father on Saturday if you so can. And that was my whole purpose for beginning and starting and broadcasting this show on Saturday. I used to do the show on Sunday a long period ago, but I found out the truth of some of these things, and I'm still learning, a lot about all these different things, and so I try to fulfill the commandments and honor the Father and the Son in the ways that I can. But I think that the first and the foremost are the 10 Commandments as laid out in the Torah, and that those are the foundation. That if we as a people and as a world could just learn to embrace those 10 essential premises, commandments for life and in the treatment of ourselves and others, this would be so much of a better place, really. And if we, treated everybody else and the planet and the creatures as we wish to be treated ourselves, and there was not the desire and the focus on accumulating wealth at the expense of others, and if there weren't these selfish individuals and selfish personas, selfish desires, and those that go the way of Cain and go the way of Lucifer and wanting to exalt themselves to be as gods themselves. If there wasn't that, this would be really much more of a beautiful place. But that's why we're here in the flesh. That's why we're here to learn through the duality of both good and evil, because it's here in the flesh that we are determining our redemption and determining our salvation, and whether we are deserving or not. And that is something that is being determined in every second, every moment of every day, with our thoughts, behaviors, and actions. And so I hope that answers you, Mary Rose. Another quick update on the Sons of God. I am still offering autographed copies for individuals that would like to acquire the latest edition. my sixth book, Sons of God, Who We Are and Why We're Here, but also that I am running for a short time, because I'm not sure how long I will have these particular books in stock, but I am offering a bundle, a package deal of 4 books. My third book, A Different Way of Being, which is a poetry book that discusses my transition into disability and how it was that I acquired my disability. And then my fourth book, Lucifer, Father of Cain. My fifth book, Awaken to the New World Order. And my sixth book, Sons of God, Who We Are and Why We're Here. That these 4 books together, basically offering them for $75, which is just, basically one free, and all of them autographed, and just have to include shipping and handling. I've found that the shipping and handling for 4 books in the country, depending on where you are, runs anywhere from $10 to $15, and then if you are in Australia or France or New Zealand or Germany or the UK, that it's averaging for the 4 books between $30 and $35 to ship them overseas, with the customs package and all that. And so if you would like, just, I'm glad to make these available for people. Just contact me. You can email me at zengarcia, ZENGARCIA 2010 at gmail.com, and that I'll be glad to answer your questions as well. And we'll get the books out to individuals as soon as I receive payment. And also, I want to make this announcement for people. If you have made payment to me and have not received the books, or if it's been a long period of time, please contact me and remind me and let me know and let me confirm the payment, and then also confirm the shipment, because I have one of the girls that works for me do the shipping depending on which one is here at that particular time. So that way, because there's a lot of orders coming in, and I'm pretty organized. I'm not, the best as far as all that, but I try to keep all the emails straight and keep all the orders straight, and to process them as soon as they come in and to get them out to you as soon as I can, so that you can get them as quick as possible. I want to also update individuals on the hard copies that I still have not received the hard copies. But if you do order the hard copy, I'll be glad to send you a PDF copy so that you can go ahead and get started on the book, and that I will make the hard copies available when they do come in. Also wanted to let people know that I just recently got some T-shirts in with the Sons of God and Who We Are, Why We're Here. It's basically the book cover, and that these are available for $12 and also $3 shipping and handling. So, and I have sizes large, extra large, and 2XL as of right now, and this was just an initial shipment that they gave me to kind of promote the book, and so make those available to you and share them with you as well. And I just want to thank everybody. Thank you for your kindness and your support, and for contacting me and sharing with me your heartfelt testimonies, your own experience of, the pain and pleasure of this world and where you find yourselves. And for a lot of us, we are sharing and can relate to a sense of loss among, family members, or a sense of being the black sheep, or being the one that is wayward on the outside, and the rest of the family thinks that we're all nuts and crazy, and nobody wants to listen to us, and the things that we speak about, cause fear and panic in people. And I understand. I relate with your situation, and so I know what you're going through. And believe me, it's something that I've been dealing with and have been experiencing and contending with for years, ever since 2004, when the Lord first woke me up to a lot of these different things. And so I have compassion for you. I empathize with the whole process of awakening, and for those that are waking up also around you, because you're the catalyst. You're the seed planter. You're the Johnny Appleseed. You are now the one that is pretty much fanning the flame of truth within people. And that at some point they may hate you now for it. They may laugh at you, may criticize you, may make fun of you, call you part of the helicopter crew, lunatic fringe, whatever. At some point, if they come to remembrance, if they come to awakening, they remember who they are, and they remember, that there's a bigger and a greater purpose to all these things, or you awaken them to the truth of the New World Order, or, the conspiracy reality of what we're dealing with as a people on this planet, or if you awaken them to the supernatural nature of the war that is going on this planet, the enmity between the two seed lines, and the supernatural nature of the sons of God and their interdiction on the affairs of humanity, the birth of a race of cannibal giants upon this planet, and their presence and their mark upon what is the history of this planet and the history of early humanity. All these things are important, and really, when people start to think about and ponder upon and consider these larger questions, it's going to lead them to want to know more about their connections with themselves and with the Creator, with the creation. They're going to want to know the things that really matter. And for that, they're going to be eternally grateful to you at some point for being the spark that helped bring them to awakening, to remembrance. And there's so much of that going on now. It's a beautiful thing to see so much of that happening. Because for the longest time, we walked alone. We walked alone in a lonely world, and not a very kind or considerate world. And there was nobody to speak to, nobody to turn to for answers or even for discussion. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of you. And this is church. This is our fellowship. This is our coming together. Where 2 or 3 more are gathered in His name. This is us doing that. This is us embracing each other in the fellowship of Christ and loving each other to want to bring each other to remembrance. That's what we're doing. And for those of you that don't agree with us, we don't want you to agree with us. We want you to do your own homework. Prove us wrong. For those of us that have come to this discernment on the different varying aspects, the very strange things that we talk about, because we talk about a lot of them. But if we're wrong, then please let us know. We don't want to teach anything that is contrary to truth. And for a lot a lot of individuals, this is not yet your truth. And that's fine. That's totally okay. You know, we don't want it to be real for you until it is. And so do your homework. Keep treading down that road. Keep seeking truth. Keep knocking on the doors. The Lord will lead you to the answers. He will give you insight on these bigger things. And so, all right, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Apocalypse of Baruch, because this particular pseudepigraphal book, in my opinion, is important for us to understand. And all of these different extra biblical books that I read from, again, I'm not claiming any of them as being inspired. I'm not saying that, they're gospel one way or the other. All I'm doing is sharing with you the information that is contained within them and allowing you to even know about them so that you can, study, do some homework, some research for yourself. We had stopped off at chapter 51 on the last show. And I think it's relevant for us to pick up here because this is also one of those jewels, diamonds within the rough that are hidden within these extra biblical books of wisdom. And this also, gives verification to those things that I've been speaking about and teaching about and talking about for years in my various books, my radio work. So let's pick up from there. And it shall come to pass, when that appointed day has gone by, that then shall the aspect of those who are condemned be afterwards changed, and the glory of those who are justified. For the aspect of those who now act wickedly shall become worse than it is, as they shall suffer torment. Also, as for the glory of those who have now been justified in my law, who have had understanding in their life, and have planted in their heart the root of wisdom, then their splendor shall be glorified in changes, and the form of their face shall be turned into the light of their beauty, that they may be able to acquire and receive the world which does not die, which is then promised to them. For over this, above all, shall those who come then lament that they rejected my law and stopped their ears, that they might not hear wisdom or receive understandings. When therefore they see those over whom they are now exalted, but who shall then be exalted and glorified more than they, shall respectively be transformed, the latter into the splendor of angels, and the former shall yet more waste away in wonder at the visions and at the beholding of the forms, for they shall first behold and afterward depart to be tormented. Now the two categories, the righteous and the unrighteous, the elect and the wicked, that are spoken of as being the two divisions of the harvest, the wheat and the tares, the goat and the sheep, that these two particular classes of people are represented by the two different bloodlines, the bloodline of Cain and the bloodline of Seth. The hybrid line of Cain, which through their divine right to rule oppressed and dominated the masses of humanity since the 7,000-year war began with the inception of the Second World Age. And then you have the line of Seth, which represents the priesthood, and those that were the foot washers of humanity, that were in service, that tried to bring a better world for the goodness sake of all involved within it. And so these two lines, these two peoples, have been warring against each other since even before the creation of modern humanity, that since the separation of light and darkness, since the crowning of Yahushua and the beginning of the Morning Star administration, and Lucifer's rebellion and his fall from grace, and the joining in ranks of the seraphim angels, and their rebellion and their departure from their heaven, from being cast out, this loss of their first estate, that this is where the war began. This is where the war stems to. This also involves us, because we were part of all that. We have connection to all of that in some way. We have being, we have remembrance, we have memory that goes back to that time, before the foundation of this world, before the creation of Adam and Eve, before the inception of the Second World Age, before the decision to incarnate in the bodies came about. And so these particular passages are speaking about the rebel angels, the fallen watchers, and the humans that join the side of the Illuminati and the side of the terrors of the wicked ones, that they have no part in salvation and will only, as the text describes, become darker and darker in their being. Because when they were first cast out of the heavens, the Lord put them in forms of darkness. They still had capacity to shapeshift, but they lost their original bright-natured angelic beauty, much like Adam and Eve. And they were transformed into the dragon, angel-like, reptilian, shape-shifting Nakash. And so it's important to understand those things. All right, we're going to continue on with the Apocalypse of Baruch, because there's one specific, the vision of the black waters is what I want to focus on today. And I'm going to also take questions. I'll check the chat room here and there to take questions, finishing up this particular passage. But those who have been saved by their works, and to whom the law has been now a hope, and understanding an expectation, and wisdom a confidence, shall wonders appear in their time. For they shall behold the world which is now invisible to them, and they shall behold the time which is now hidden from them. And time shall no longer age them, for in the height of that world shall they dwell, and they shall be made like unto the angels, and be made equal to the stars, and they shall be changed into every form they desire, from beauty into loveliness, and from light into the splendor of glory. For there shall be spread before them the extents of paradise, and there shall be shown to them the beauty of the majesty of the living creatures which are beneath the throne, and all the armies of the angels who are now held fast by my word, lest they should appear and are held fast by a command, that they may stand in their places till their advent comes. Moreover, there shall then be excellency in the righteous, surpassing that in the angels. For the first shall receive the last, those whom they were expecting, and the last those of whom they used to hear that they had passed. And so there's the theme of the first shall be the last again. And it basically speaking about this time, this last generation, and how it would be this time that the angels of the elect and the angels of darkness, that they would incarnate for the last advent, the last battle. And so we're seeing all that unfold now in our lifetimes. Now, what I'm going to be reading from next is chapter 53 and 54 of the book, The Apocalypse of Baruch. And this gives description of the apocalypse during the time of the Messiah. Okay. I'm just checking the chat room. I want to thank For Fun for giving me feedback on the book. She said she read it in 2 days and that it was an easy read, and that she did ask me to bring some clarity on a couple things, and so I will do that. And I'll ask all those that have read the text, that have ordered the book that I've sent out, please share feedback with me. Tell me, how it is that I can bring clarity to the information, what it is that I can do to help you to better understand. Because I know there's a lot of information there, and that I've covered a lot of texts that most people have never read. And so, I'm sure you're going to have questions. So, all right, going back to the Apocalypse of Baruch. And just wanted to give a shout out to everybody in the chat room and all the guests, Jazz, Mama B, Cookie, For Fun, and all those that will come later in the archive, Gray, Eric, God bless all of you. Okay, Apocalypse of Baruch, chapter 53, 54. The vision of the cloud with the black and white waters. And when I had said these things, I fell asleep there, and I saw a vision. Now, I'm not going to read the entirety of the vision. I'm going to read just a short, just to give you an idea. And then we're going to go to the interpretation thereof, because I want you to see the relevancy for. But I did want to give you, just so you can understand, a partial vision, so you'll understand what you'll be reading when you read the entirety of the text. And when I had said these things, I fell asleep there, and I saw a vision, and lo, a cloud was ascending from a very great sea. I kept gazing upon it, and lo, it was full of waters, white and black. And there were many colors in those selfsame waters, and as it were, the likeness of great lightning was seen at its summit. And I saw the cloud passing swiftly in quick courses, and it covered all the earth. It came to pass after these things that the cloud began to pour upon the earth, the waters that were in it. And I saw that there was not one and the same likeness in the waters which descended from it. For in the first beginning there were black and many. Or time afterwards I saw that the waters became bright, but they were not many. And after these things again I saw black waters. And after these things again bright, and again black, and again bright. Now this was done 12 times, but the black were always more numerous than the bright. And it came to pass at the end of the cloud that, lo, it rained black waters, and they were darker than had been all those waters that were before. And fire was mingled with them, and there were those waters descended. They wrought devastation and destruction with them. And after these things I saw how that lightning which I had seen on the summit of the cloud seized hold of it and hurled it to the earth. Now that lightning shone exceedingly so as to illuminate the whole earth, and it healed those regions where the last waters had descended and wrought devastation. And it took hold of the whole earth and had dominion over it. And I saw after these things, and lo, 12 rivers were ascending from the sea. They began to surround that lightning and to become subject to it. And by reason of my fear, I awoke. All right. I'm going to skip to the interpretation. Now, Baruch does pray to the Father for interpretation of the vision and ask him to help him to explain. So we're going to skip down to chapter 56. This is the interpretation. Nevertheless, because you have besought the Most High to reveal to you the interpretation of the vision which you have seen, I have been sent to tell you, and the Mighty One hath assuredly made known to you the method of the times that have passed, and of those that are destined to pass in his world from the beginning of its creation, even unto its consummation, of those things which are deceit and of those which are in truth. For as you did see a great cloud which ascended from the sea, and went and covered the earth, this is the duration of the world, which the Mighty One made when he took counsel to make the world. And it came to pass, when the world had gone forth from his presence, that the duration of the world had come into being in a small degree, and was established according to the multitude of the intelligence of him who sent it. And as you did previously see on the summit of the cloud black waters, which descended previously on the earth, this is the transgression wherein Adam, the first man, transgressed. For since when he transgressed, untimely death came into being. Grief was named, and anguish was prepared. Pain was created, trouble consummated, and disease began to be established. Sheol kept demanding that it should be renewed in blood. The begetting of children was brought about, and the passion of parents produced. The greatness of humanity was humiliated, and goodness languished. Okay, I want to stop here for just a second and explain something. Now, one of the things that I've been asked about and that people have questioned me on as far as the book of Genesis is that most people believe that Adam and Eve, that when they were first created, that they were created in flesh form, and that they already had bodies, and that they were already eating and drinking and doing all the things that were part of the animalistic nature, the dual aspect, the carnal aspect of what is our binary soul, our spirit trapped within these flesh forms. But if you read the text carefully, and especially all of the other texts which give absolute clarity and fullness to the description of what I'm about to tell you, is that Adam and Eve, they fell from paradise. And that paradise was not even where we are now. That paradise is somewhere else, and that it has something to do with our original immortal, bright-natured state of being, and that bodies don't inherit paradise, but our spirits, our eternal, bright-natured aspects of ourselves, that part of ourselves is what is brought unto salvation and brought unto paradise. But even Adam and Eve, before they fell, they lost what is called their light vesture. When they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they lost their light vestures. They lost their immortal bright natures, or their angelic being. And it was afterwards, after the seventh day and a day of rest, the Sabbath, the holy day, and the institution of it, the laws, the feasts, the commandments to honor the Father and the Creator, to do no work, celebrate the Lord. That after that day of rest, on the 8th day, when Adam and Eve are pushed out of paradise and placed on the wilderness of the earth in a place called the Cave of Treasures, this is when their bodies began to undergo the transformation that is described in the forgotten books of Eden, the forbidden books of the Bible, the first book of Adam and Eve. It talks about that transformation. And I did a show about that just a couple weeks back on Adam and Eve and the wilderness of the earth. And I read all of that information to you. So check that. But just to give you clarity, that Genesis chapter 3, talking about the fall of our ancestors, that was fall from paradise, fall from immortal, angelic, bright-natured first estate. That was the fall. And that fall was into the wilderness of the earth. Our ancestors were put in a place called the Cave of Treasures, and that was on this earth where we are now. And that this earth was already a place and a habitation for devils and demons. And that the fallen angels had already been banished here and had already history and culture from their time of being here on this planet. And they considered themselves to be the owners, the original terrestrial beings of the planet. And they consider us to be the interlopers, even though we know that the Father and the Son gave the planet over to Adam and Eve when He created them. All right. Continuing on with the image of the waters. What therefore can be blacker or darker than these things? This is the beginning of the black waters which you have seen. And from these black waters, again, were black derived, and the darkness of the darkness was produced. For he became a danger to his own soul, even to the angels. For moreover, at that time when he was created, they enjoyed liberty. Wait a second, I'm going to stop here for a second. Okay. For when he was created, they enjoyed liberty, and he became a danger to some of them, descended and mingled with the women. And then those who did so were tormented in chains. But the rest of the multitude of the angels, of which there is no number, restrained themselves, and those who dwelt on the earth perished together with them through the waters of the deluge. These are the black first waters. And so here, even in this particular story, again, you have confirmation of the intermingling of the sons of God with the daughters of humanity and the creation of a race of giants, and how the deluge was brought on to wipe out this abominable seed line. It's repeated over and over and over. Chapter 57. And after these waters you did see bright waters. This is the fount of Abraham, also his generation and advent of his son, and of his son's son, and of those like them, because at that time the unwritten law was named amongst them, and the works of the commandments were then fulfilled, and belief in the coming judgment was then generated, and hope of the world that was to be renewed was then built up. And the promise of the life that should come hereafter was implanted. These are the bright waters which you have seen. I'll stop here for just a second and make another comment. We know that with Abraham, the foundation of the law was reestablished, that Abraham was retaught in Jubilees, I believe it's chapter 12, verse 15 or something like that. It speaks about how Abraham was taught, again, the language of his forefathers and taught Hebrew so that he could read the old books that were written by his ancestors. And so we know that, the language prior to the flood was also Hebrew, but that Abraham was led out of Sumer, where his father Terah was the high priest, and that his father was also an idol maker, and that his name was Abram at the time. Abram was being instituted into this profession, but that in his querying, his questioning on the, actual capacity of, idols to be able to hear prayers or to do anything for themselves, is when the Most High selected him and led him, told him if he abandoned, his father's traditions and go to where he would lead him, he would increase his seed and number them among the multitude of the stars, and that he would give him this promised land, which is exactly what the Father did. And so Abram was brought out of the paganism of the Sumerian traditions, which the Sumerian peoples, they worshiped their fallen angel ancestors. The fallen angel, the hybrid gods that brought even their ancestors into being. And so that's why the priesthoods, the particular pagan cultures, why they gave reverence to the fallen ones. Even the giants, the Philistines, their worship of Dagon, who's Oni, Ea, Enki. Same thing. They do so because they know their own connections to these fallen ones. Chapter 58. And the black third waters which you have seen, these are the mingling of all sins, which the nations afterward wrought after the death of those righteous men, and the wickedness of the land of Egypt, wherein they did wickedly, in the service wherein they made their sons to serve. Nevertheless, these also perished at last. Chapter 59. And the bright fourth waters which you have seen are the advent of Moses and Aaron and Miriam and Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb and all those like them. For at that time the lamp of the eternal law shone on all those who sat in darkness, which announced to them that believe the promise of their reward, and to them that deny the torment of fire which is reserved for them. But also the heavens at that time were shaken from their place, and those who were under the throne of the Mighty One were perturbed, when he was taken Moses unto himself, for he showed him many admonitions together with the principles of the law and the consummation of the times, as also to you in likeness the pattern of Zion and its measures, in the pattern of which the sanctuary of the present time was to be made. But then also he showed to him the measures of the fire, also the depths of the abyss, and the weight of the winds and the suffering, the truth of judgment, the root of wisdom, the riches of paradise, the consummation of the ages and the beginning of the day of judgment, the number of offerings in the earth which had not yet come, the mouth of Gehenna and the station of vengeance, the place of faith and the region of hope, and the likeness of future torment, the multitude of its innumerable angels, the flaming hosts, the splendor of the lightnings, and the voice of the thunders, the orders of the chiefs of the angels and the treasuries of light, and the charges of the times and the investigations of the law. These are the bright fourth waters which you have seen. Chapter 60. And the black fifth waters which you have seen. Raining are the works which the Amorites wrought, and the spells of their incantations which they wrought, and the wickedness of their mysteries, and the mingling of their pollution. But even Israel was then polluted by the sins in the days of the judges, though they saw many signs which were from him who made them. And the bright six waters which through did see. This is the time in which David and Solomon were born. And there was at that time the building of Zion and the dedication of the sanctuary, the shedding of much blood of the nations that sinned then. And peace and tranquility existed that time. And wisdom was heard in the assembly, and the riches of understanding were magnified in the congregation. The holy festivals were fulfilled in blessedness and in much joy. The judgment of the rulers was then seen to be without guile, and the righteousness of the precepts of the Mighty One was accomplished with truth. And the land which was then beloved by the Lord, because its inhabitants sinned not, it was glorified beyond all lands. And the city Zion ruled then over all lands and regions. These are the bright waters which you have seen. I'm going to skip to what is relevant for our time. It will tell you about Hezekiah and Josiah and how it was that it was cleaned up, and that it was that Israel kept falling into sin. Now, I'm skipping to the last waters. We're going to skip to chapter 70. And this is going to be relevant for our generation. This will be, I'm going to need this last 30 minutes to focus on this. Let me check the chat room real quick. Thank you, Jazz, for putting that out there. Cookie says, thank you for giving us chapter and verse. It helps us to follow along. No problem at all. I like that y'all are able to read along and to see it for yourself, because I think it's even better too to see it and to read it. All right, one second. All right. All right, here we go. Chapter 70. Hear, therefore, the interpretation of the last black waters, which are to come after the black. This is the word. Behold, the days come, and it shall be when the time of the age has ripened, and the harvest of its evil and good seeds has come, that the Mighty One will bring upon the earth and its inhabitants, and upon its rulers perturbation of spirit and the stupor of heart. And they shall hate one another, and provoke one another to fight. And the mean shall rule over the honorable, and those of low degree shall be extolled above the famous. The many shall be delivered into the hands of the few, and those who were nothing shall rule over the strong. And the poor shall have abundance beyond the rich, and the impious shall exalt themselves above the heroic. The wise shall be silent. Neither shall the thought of men be then confirmed, nor the counsel of the mighty, nor shall the hope of those who hope be confirmed. And when those things which were predicted have come to pass, then shall confusion fall upon all men. and some of them shall fall in battle. Some of them shall perish in anguish. Some of them shall be destroyed by their own, and then the Most High, peoples whom he has prepared before, they shall come and make war with the leaders that shall then be left. And it shall come to pass that whoever gets safe out of the war shall die in the earthquake, and whoever gets safe out of the earthquake shall then be burned by the fire. Whoever gets safe out of the fire shall be destroyed by famine. It shall come to pass that whoever of the victors and the vanquished gets safe out of and escapes all these things aforesaid will be delivered into the hands of my servant Messiah. For all the earth shall devour its inhabitants. Chapter 71. And the Holy Land shall have mercy on its own, and it shall protect its inhabitants at that time. This is the vision which you have seen, and this is the interpretation. For I have come to tell you these things because your prayer has been heard with the Most High. Hear now also regarding the bright lightning which is to come at the consummation after these black waters. This is the word. After the signs have come, of which you were told before, when the nations become turbulent, and the time of my Messiah is come, he shall both summon all the nations, and some of them he shall spare, some of them he shall slay. These things therefore shall come upon the nations which are to be spared by him. Every nation which knows not Israel and has not trodden down in the seed of Jacob shall indeed be spared. And this because some out of every nation shall be subjected to your people. But all those who have ruled over you or have known you shall be given up to the sword. And it shall come to pass, when he has brought low everything that is in the world, and has sat down in peace for the age on the throne of his kingdom, that joy shall then be revealed, and rest shall appear, and then healing shall descend in dew, disease shall withdraw, and anxiety and anguish and lamentation pass from amongst men. And gladness proceed through the whole earth. No one shall again die untimely, nor shall any adversity suddenly befall. And judgments and abusive talk and contentions and revenges and blood and passions and envy and hatred and whatsoever things are like these shall go into condemnation where they are removed. For it is these very things which have filled this world with evils. And on account of these, the life of man has been greatly troubled. Wild beasts shall come from the forest and minister unto men. Asps and dragons shall come forth from their holes to submit themselves to a little child. Women shall no longer then have pain when they bear, nor shall they suffer torment when they yield the fruit of the womb. Chapter 74. And it shall come to pass in those days that the reapers shall not grow weary, nor those that build be toil worn. For the works shall of themselves speedily advance, together with those who do them in much tranquility. For that time is the consummation of that which is corruptible, and the beginning of that which is not corruptible. Therefore, those things which were predicted shall belong to it. Therefore it is far away from evils and near to those things which die not. This is the bright lightning which came after the last dark waters. And so basically that vision is the chapter 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 of the book of Revelation. I've got just a little bit more that I want to bring forth from this particular book. Not much at all. We're going to just skip through, read a couple of remaining paragraphs, and then we'll discuss this. This is a pretty interesting statement here. Then we'll comment on this. If you go to chapter 77, this is after Baruch has been told by the Father, by the Word, that he's going to give up the flesh, that he's going to be taken into paradise, to be with the other patriarchs. And the Father wants him to bring all his books, his wisdom, his knowledge, the things that he's written together, assemble the people, and declare it to them, and implore them to follow the commandments, to follow the law, to seek the Father and the Son, and to serve them only. Chapter 77, verse 23. Remember, moreover, that at the time of the deluge, Noah received from a dove the fruit of the olive, when he sent it forth from the ark. Yea, also the ravens ministered to Elijah, bearing him food as they had been commanded. Solomon also in the time of his kingdom, whithersoever he wished to send or seek. For anything, he commanded a bird to go hither, and it obeyed him as he commanded it. And now let it not weary you, and turn not to the right nor the left, but fly and go by a direct way, that you may preserve the command of the Mighty One, according as I say unto you. So, Baruch, in his last translation to the people, speaking then to them about the destruction of Jerusalem and how the people were going to be taken into captivity, going to be exiled, going to be led astray. But, they were also told that in 70 years he would bring them again out of that place and out of that exile. And he would prove to them, verify again to them that he is the Father and that he is the command of all things. Now, that particular passage I just read about the birds, that was something else. I thought I was reading something that was still connected to the vision, but I did highlight how in the old days they utilized birds to communicate, and that how even the Most High he utilized the animal kingdom to verify his command and his authority. And that even during the time of Solomon, when Solomon was given a full authority over all the kingdoms of the world, and even given a ring to command the fallen angels, the demons, and how he utilized this ring to get them to build the temple, and that it was their supernatural capacity and their abilities which made the temple an original creation that much of a wondrous sight. And it's also spoken about in some of the Jewish tales that are linked to Solomon and also to Daniel, that Solomon had a white lion, the king of the jungle, that he rode upon, and that he also had a white eagle, an old, wise eagle, that he was able to ride upon to traverse the different places and lengths of the planet. And that there's even a beautiful story in a book speaking about the early stories of Solomon and David, and I can't tell you the name of it right now. But there's a tale that talks about Solomon riding upon his eagle and flying over what was an ancient metropolis, and how he found this old building, kingdom, abandoned kingdom, connected to what was even the ancestors that predated, his peoples. And that it gives a description of his going down and inspecting, and it's like one of these megalithic structures and type cities. And so it's interesting, all the introspection that you can find within the various old tales and books of wisdom, which is why I like to read them. And this Apocalypse of Baruch, another thing that is interesting about all the pseudepigraphal and the apocryphal books is that they give confirmation as to the Son of God, the only begotten, as to his reigning over and his being the embodiment of the Father as the Word, and that it has been, we've been dealing with the Father and Son even before our creation, even before our banishment from paradise. And so we are now in the culmination, the fulfillment, this life, where we are now as the fig tree generation, with the blooming of Israel and the creation of Israel as a nation again. Even though we know that a lot of that was, Rothschild, Zionist funded, and that it was those powers and those principalities that are, connected to the fallen ones that are still ruling over and controlling not only the fate of Israel, but, fate of America, fate of the world, the New World Order, that the opposition is controlled, and it's just a facade. That even what is happening with Hamas in Israel, that Hamas was a creation of Israel in the early days where they were trying to destabilize Yasser Arafat and the PLO party, and that Hamas has been a controlled entity since prior to that time, much like Al-Qaeda for, the CIA and for the war on terrorism. That opposition is created, controlled, and utilized in order to set and push forward an agenda. And that they are in process now of giving over to the Muslim Brotherhood and to those terrorist organizations that we're supposed to be fighting, but who we are in fact funding and arming. In fact, we armed the terrorists that killed Ambassador Stevens and the Americans there in Benghazi. Even Osama bin Laden and all his people, we funded, armed, and brought them up. You can look that up. That is history. Good night, Cookie. Thank you for joining us, sister. And so it's not, these things are historical, and it's important for you to learn about how to decipher the illusion of the matrix, and how to understand the dog and pony show that they put forth in order to lead you astray or to get you to accept and think about news a certain way. It's been recently because, I see a lot of people waking up all around me. Individuals that, I did not even speak to about a lot of these different topics and subjects because I allow people to bring this kind of stuff up with me. And to, when it is they're comfortable, they know I do the shows that I do, that I've written the books that I've written, and that I say the things that I say. But until people are ready, I don't try to force anything down anybody's throat. I'm not trying to argue somebody over to this side. That is not the way I do it. I don't have the time for it, nor the energy, nor do I want to even go into, those kind of spaces. Discussion, dialogue, interesting conversation, even contentious in such a way that we're spurring discernment. All those are, I can do that. Sharing conversation and communicating as adults, I can do that, no problem at all. But arguing with others or trying to convert them when, no. You don't throw pearls before the swine. You just got to allow people to be where they are for the time that they're there. And when they're ready, that's when you give them everything that they have been looking for, all the answers that they've been seeking. That's when you hit them with the truth in such a way that you just lay it out there. You're not trying to control it. You're not trying to sway it one way or the other. You just have to allow the Spirit to speak through you and speak the truth and just lay it on the line. Because when people come to that point, that's when they're ripe for the seed planting. That's when they're ripe for you to drop a few pieces of information here and there that will begin to grow. It will branch out. It will guide them to question, to query, to seek for things that may have not ever have been a concern to them prior. And so that's where we are all at now. That's what we're being called to do. Because that's what's happening in this time and space, is we are all being led to remembrance. We're being called to remember who we are, our connections to the Creator. We're being called to seek out that innate desire within each one of us to know the Father and the Son and to come to answers on the larger and greater reasons and questions for our being here on the planet and at this time. There are no coincidences. There are no accidents. There are no perchance happenings. There is no randomness. Everything has perfect alignment with the intent and the will of the Creator. And it is all reflected in that way. And that's why the grand complexity of the great mystery and the way that it unfolds even in our personal lives, because I know my life is every day I'm receiving supernatural confirmations of my walk with Him. And I know that those of you that are aligned with that intent and that will for your lives to seek the kingdom first, that you also are receiving these various confirmations. That Spirit every day is communicating and having dialogue with us. And that it's just us that has to learn to speak the language, to understand the signs, to understand the communication. And once you start to see it and understand it, you'll find just how humorous, how lively, how joyful Spirit is and our Creator is, and how funny, how just funny, humorous the Father and the Son can be. And how just beautiful relating, that can be a personal thing for each one of us. And so I hope and I pray this relationship for you with the Father and with the Son, and that you come to discernment on these things, because the hour is so late, and it seems like, we've been given somewhat of a reprieve, that even though there are so many things lined up that any one of them can set off a conflagration and just set the whole domino effect rolling, all we can do is just try to embrace each day and joy, and try to find the peace and the benevolence of another day, and give offer and thanksgiving to the Father and the Son, and humble ourselves in thanksgiving for the continued peace and joy that we experience in our everyday lives, because we don't know how long that will contain itself and allow itself to be possibility. Our country is bankrupt. At some point, that's going to have to be contended with. That's going to have to be dealt with. And that's not going to be a pretty scenario. That circumstance, we see it unfolding in all the countries of Europe now. People are dying on the streets in just protest, just trying to get enough to eat. That there's not enough jobs, that not enough food, the uncertainty, there's not enough health care. The infrastructure is collapsing around us, is breaking down. Civil liberties, the rights of humanity as people, as a citizenry, all that is being thrown out the window for the sake of security and enforcing the oppression. And so these are the realities. This is the world. This is the new world order. This is what they want to bring to all the corners of the globe. They want their influence, their decisions at the United Nations to affect all of us. They want their power and authority, their reach to extend to such a degree that whatever it is that they decide as being the well-being and betterment for all of us as humanity, as a world citizenry, they want to indulge in that rule and that leadership and that ability to rule in impunity, to oppress, to send forth standing armies and to invade the sovereignty of nations and peoples everywhere, no matter which part of the globe, to institute vaccine programs and austerity programs and austerity measures over countries and regions of countries just because it's been decided so. Just because a group of elitists decide that this is the way it should be done for all of us poor, useless eaters that can't make decisions for ourselves. Son of Yahweh wants to know my email address. Yeah, I will give it to people, and I'll give you an update at the end of the show so that people can contact me. And if you'd like to order the book, Sons of God, Who We Are, Why We're Here, or any of the other ones, that all of them are available. Even for those that, just want to get any of the individual copies, differing copies autographed. If you'd like for me to autograph the third book or the fourth book or the fifth one or the sixth one, and you just like to individually get those, and you're not, or if you already have some of the others, however it is that you would like to get the information, I'm willing to make it available to all of you. We've got 9 minutes remaining. All right, let me check one last thing here. Oh, this is what I need to do. I need to announce this. I did do a show recently with, I did an interview with Professor Truth. And let me find the link to it. I'm going to post it in the chat room for those that have access to the chat room. This was he asked some very relevant questions. And for those that have listened to the ongoing series of interviews that he and I have done over the course of the years that we've been working together to bring forth the information that we have, this is really good information for those that are advanced in this knowledge. That may have questions, and I consider all of you advanced seekers, advanced truth seekers, and that you're well versed in so many different things, and you're well aware of so many stories and information that most people have never heard about. There's a link to the interview on YouTube that I did with Professor Truth. It's about 2.5 hours long, and like I said, he asked a lot of really relevant and advanced questions on the Sons of God book. We covered the first 8 days. We're going to do a number of other interviews as well, because there's just so much information there. And there's so much information there that is new to people that you've not ever heard about or read about. And so I want to bring it to you as precise and as clear as I can. Welcome, Billy Ray, and some of the new listeners, and for all of the ongoing supporting friends. We appreciate all of you. All right. Let me see one last thing. Okay, so if you have any questions, if you want to contact me about, anything as far as, one other thing I do want to say, for those that cannot afford the books, that are living, day to day just trying to get enough to eat, please don't use your money on these books. If you're just trying to make it, just email me, and I'm going to give out my email here. You can contact me at Zen Garcia, ZenGarcia 2010 at gmail.com. And for veterans, people with disabilities, if you do not have the funds to purchase these books, contact me. I'll be glad to send you a PDF copy of whatever book it is that you're interested in. Just contact me. It's just important for me that the information is out there. It's not about making money or anything like that. It's about serving the Father, serving the Son, serving humanity, being a good foot watcher, and leading you to remembrance, leading you to know thyself. And so I'll give that information out again, just letting for the listening audience, those that are just tuning in or have not or do not know, my 6th book, Sons of God, Who We Are, Why We Are Here, has been released by Tate. The official book release will be the January 29th, 2013, and that it's my understanding on that date that it will be available in all the various web portals as well as in book form in various bookstores across the country. And so I just want to thank the Father and the Son for making this information available to you wherever you may be. I pray that you find relevancy within it, that it resonate with you in capacity that changes your world, that forces you to change your reality in such a way that you are dealing with what's real and coming to know what is truth, even in some of its ugly forms. That having come to that awareness and coming to that revelation, that you then can utilize that information for the betterment of not only self, but that of the world and that of the children that are going to have to grow up with this world, that are still every day coming in as fresh, wet, new souls full of joy and hope, that we give them, show them a way, give them a path to follow, show them that there are answers and that there is a way home. And so, God bless all of you. I pray that the Father and the Son continue to lead you in discernment, lead you in wisdom, watch over your lives, guide you and lead your and bring you to the revelation of all these things, because these are life-changing, important, very important and impacting decisions for each one of us to make. In Yahushua Yahweh's name. Area code 336, call back next show. I'll try to leave some time for some questions for all of you, because I know that you have questions you'd like to ask directly. God bless all in Yahushua Yahweh's name. Amen.
A number of things that I've heard from people in the Pentagon, that the buzzword in the secret of secrets in the Pentagon is the Sumerian gods are returning, and that's what they're referring to as that whole area that Peter.
Wow! Can you repeat that again, just in case anybody missed it? The buzzword in
the Pentagon, in the military circles that are in the know about the cover-up here, they kind of in whispered tones talk about the return of the Sumerian gods. And they're talking about what we would call aliens or fallen angels returning into the Middle East, into Old Sumer area.
The Anunnaki.
Well, could be.
Under the other ancient names.
Do you think that has anything to do with why we're in a